All right, so this is going to be our first broadcast of the Pro Wrestling Podcast on the road. And the reason I'm saying on the road is I'm literally driving on the road using the mobile app. So if you are a person who is looking to podcast yourself, get out there. I am a huge fan of the service I use. It's called Spreaker. If you've never, gone and looked it up after one of my episodes, I typically try to throw them out there every now and again to give you guys an idea of what I do. But they have this mobile app where I can broadcast on the run. I'm going to do that today because I told all you guys, the ones who tune into the YouTube channel, there's a video that I put up with my WrestleMania review, but for some reason the computer software is not accepting my podcast in its normal format. So none of my viewers from around the world, thank you, my global viewers, none of my viewers from around the world are able to get the podcast because the audio version wasn't working. So I'm going to run through the match card relatively quickly. I know I say that all the time and then I end up going 25, 30 minutes anyways, but I got to do it relatively quickly because I'm on the road and I don't want to be distracted too much. God forbid I'll back into somebody or something. So we're going to get started with the WrestleMania review, the audio version, Pro Wrestling Podcast, episode 60. And here's the deal. The show started in what could have been an amazing way. It still was a good way. Neville versus Austin Aries. I'm a huge fan of both people. I love Ring of Honor. I love Neville's work in New Japan and stuff. So this match held the promise of being potentially the match of the night. They could have stolen the show. I don't think they were given as much time nor the creative freedom to really put on the match that these two guys are capable of putting on. But that being said, I still think they did a really good job of putting together a great storyline, even the finish. So throughout the match, you see Austin Aries hit some moves that he's not typically known for. Going back to his roots, some of the crazy high-flying stuff that he's capable of doing. Of course, Neville does the same thing. He used to be the man that defies gravity, or the man gravity forgot, or whatever they wanted to call him before. Now, he doesn't always pull those out. But in this WrestleMania match, and a lot of people were saying, he didn't use the rings of Saturn. I'm fine with that. It's WrestleMania. We want the biggest high spot possible, and he hit the red arrow at the end for the victory. I absolutely loved the part where he's in the submission hold, and he reaches back and grabs a hold of Austin Aries' eye socket. And I don't know what he was doing, but they really made that look solid. It looked like he was literally digging his fingers into that guy's eye, and it looked as legit gets. And I actually made you a little uncomfortable, because if you know anything about Austin Aries, his eye injury that he suffered last year was insanely brutal and overly graphic. So for them to go there, that was actually pretty cool to see. Moving on to the second match, we had probably, just my opinion, the worst Battle Royal I have ever seen in my entire life. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal was a thorough letdown, probably the letdown of the night. A lot of opportunity there for surprises. The only surprise we got, which as a huge football guy, I'm actually very happy to have seen Rob Gronkowski. I think that brings in some of your mainstream press, and it ties into Mojo Rawley, who eventually was the winner. I'm okay with all of that. But when you go into a match where the odds makers had Braun Strowman as the odds-on favorite to win, the odds-on favorite should have been in the match significantly longer. In addition, it's the Big Show's final WrestleMania, supposedly. If that truly is the case, you can't convince me that the Big Show wanted to go out and end his career in that way. I thought that if you're WWE and you truly respect and honor the talent that has been with you for so long, remember, Big Show's been there since like 1998, 97, 98, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head as I'm driving, but he's been there for a long time. So you would expect that you would give him kind of, and I'm not saying he's the Undertaker, but in the Undertaker way, or the Ric Flair way, or the Shawn Michaels way, or something like that, a premium match to be his last WrestleMania match. I'm a little bit frustrated and somewhat offended for the Big Show that they didn't see the need or the necessitation to give him a match of a higher quality. Now, I know the Shaq thing fell through at the last minute, but you could have found something better to do with the Big Show. And if you can't, then I question your writing team's capabilities anymore, because it's getting to the point where they really have no idea what they're doing. I say that now, but a little later I'm going to praise them just a little. Not a lot, just a little. So, Andre the Giant Battle Royal helps launch Mojo Rawley. Hopefully he could take off like Baron Corbin did last year. I actually like Mojo Rawley, but I question whether or not he's got the actual ring general attitude, mentality, or skill set to ever be on the same level as someone like Baron Corbin. But at least this is somewhat of a launching pad for his career to hopefully get him into a better position on the card. Honestly, right now, I don't see him going much higher than like an Apollo Crews. But whatever, at least they're giving him a shot. I appreciate them giving a new talent a shot. Moving on to the third match, another match that really irritated me, not because of the match itself. I was actually okay with the match. It wasn't a fabulous Dean Ambrose match. I expected it to be completely lopsided one way. I expected Corbin to be beating Dean down most of the match, with Dean finding a way to sneak out the win. But the match itself, it didn't seem like Corbin showed up. And I'm not saying as a performer, I'm saying the moves and the sequences that they allowed him to put on didn't look like the Baron Corbin dominant performance that you typically would see from him. Now, the match itself, decent match. Dean Ambrose retains. A lot of people, odds makers, had Baron Corbin winning the match, but if you look closely at the odds, the actual numbers were as close to even as any match on the card went. So if there was room for one of the matches to be a surprise, that was the one. Moving on, getting to the main card, the New Day kicked off the show. The New Day kicking off the show, the only reason I'm even mentioning it is because of the hilarious reference Big E made to Xavier Woods. He's kind of got a pattern of going off script. I don't know if he was scripted to say something about Xavier Woods and give him the look that he got, but it got one of the biggest pops of the night, just seeing him make fun of Xavier Woods. You know, that whole segment I could have lived the rest of my life not seeing, except for that little tiny part there. Moving on past that, they opened the show with what I thought, when I watched it, I was frustrated because I'm a huge AJ Styles guy. For anybody who knows anything about my fandom, I love AJ. As far as regular wrestlers right now, AJ Styles at the top of my food chain. There's nobody higher. But that being said, after I watched the show and after I saw how it unfolded and everything else, I think they picked the best match to go on first. And the reason I say that is he's a premium draw. You pay good money to either see, go to, watch, whatever, WrestleMania. And if you're going to pay all that money to go see a show, you want to be excited from start to finish. And the reality is many of the matches on the show didn't have the same sizzle. And I know people dump on Shane McMahon for his in-ring ability, but the reality is he's a draw. Doesn't matter how he wrestles. He's a draw because of the storyline, if nothing else. And you know he's willing to do some crazy, insane things to make the match as good as it can be. And he did that. And I'm very, very impressed with Shane's performance. Hitting that coast-to-coast dive off the top ropes through into the trash can in the corner thing that he's been doing for years. The guy's in his mid to late 40s. And he's still pulling that off. That's a 20-foot ring. I don't care if you're on a springboarded rope. That's a long ways to go. And the guy's still able to get it done. So kudos to them. AJ Styles, my buddy, that's my absolute number one guy in the company. And as always, doesn't cease to impress. He's able to pull out a good match with anybody. And even this match, there are people, I've been listening all day to the different WrestleMania reviews. There are people who are completely crapping on this match. I don't know why. What did you expect from a Shane McMahon match? The kid, Shane McMahon, as long as he's been doing it, he still doesn't know how to throw a punch. He still looks like a 5-year-old trying to beat up, he looks like the chicken hawk from the Looney Tunes commercials trying to attack, what was that rooster's name? Anyways, not important. The point is, he's not a fighter. He's just not. He doesn't play that role well. He plays the insane bump guy well. So, this match, I shudder to think what the Wrestling Observer. I shudder to think what Wrestling Observer is going to rank this match, because I feel like sometimes they're overly critical of wrestling matches, but that's fine. At the end of the day, for me, decent match for what it was built up to be. Next match on the card, we got to see the Kevin Owens versus Chris Jericho United States Championship match. Look, there are people, myself included, who thought that had the Goldberg never come back to the company, and if Kevin Owens was still the Universal Champion, this would have been the main event of WrestleMania, and I'd have been fine with that. One of the best storylines we've seen in years between these two, and I felt like they didn't get enough time to truly tell their story and showcase everything that they're able to do, and I have a problem with that. When you're the focal point of the number one show in the company for all the time that they were last year, you would think that they would give them a little bit more time and let them really be the show. Let them be the main event. Now, I understand the booking because of who was added to the event, and he couldn't do that anymore, but I would have loved to have seen them higher on the card. But going into the match, it's a phenomenal match. The two have a great chemistry together, so you get to see that. You get to see, a lot of offense by Owens early. Jericho almost had the walls early in the match. Not such a big deal. I guess you get that in there so you could say that you saw it. A lot of back and forth. These guys, I really believe, if you gave them like an old-fashioned Ric Flair hour kind of match, they could really bring the house down for an hour. And in this match, it wasn't what you would have hoped for it to have been as far as a technical masterpiece, but it still had a lot of entertainment value. I was a little surprised. It seemed like the ending of the match, the powerbomb on the ring apron, and then rolling him into the ring and getting the pin and whatnot, it seemed a little bit rushed. But with the 7 hours to fill, I at the time when I was watching it, I kind of understood. Now looking back at it, there's so much talking and stuff going on in between matches that they really should have given the match more time and cut down on all the riff-raff and side nonsense that nobody really needs. Going into the next match, we have the Raw Women's Championship. This match was booked, if I was given like a 5-star rating, I'll give it 3 stars, and here's why. I love the way they eliminate Nia Jax, okay? It keeps her character strong. I emphasize that all the time. You got to keep her character strong. She is a beast. She's the monster of the women's division. You could almost argue the Brock Lesnar of the women's division. But at the end of the day, if you're going to keep solid storylines going forward, and understand that I'm doing this episode much in the way I did the video episode from the perspective before Raw went live, but you had to have Nia Jax come out looking great, but not walk out with that championship. There's so much more to be done with that. Nia Jax goes out first. I was a little shocked to see Sasha Banks go out second. I really wanted to see Sasha turn on Bayley and lead to a feud between the two, but they instead decided to have her eliminated second and then have Bayley defeat Charlotte. I would have much rather not seen Bayley get another pinfall victory over Charlotte, because Charlotte has been buried for the last several weeks, and that's really frustrating. So at the end of the day, Bayley gets her WrestleMania moment. It's a huggable, feel-good moment for the hugger, but I just would have booked it a little bit differently. We have the triple threat ladder match for the Tag Team Championship. Gallows and Anderson, Enzo and Cass, Cesaro and Sheamus. And then we have the New Day come out where they did a great job. If you weren't a smart mark who already knew what was going to happen, it looked like the New Day was inserting themselves into the championship match, which actually, if the Hardys weren't there, I would have been perfectly okay with, because now I'm actually ready for the New Day to get the championship back. I'm tired of seeing all 3 of these other teams. So they're out there. They introduced the Hardys. Huge pop of the night. Love the delete chants and stuff like that, the whole match. That was phenomenal. And WWE I can't imagine they could be any more happy with the situation than what they got last night. That was awesome. Seeing the Hardys come back, take the Raw Tag Team Championship in a classic ladder match, and also getting to see Jeff Hardy hit one of those crazy swantons off the top of a 20-foot ladder certainly didn't hurt things at all. I'm happy to see that even at his, I want to say old age, but as far as a wrestler goes, he's definitely at an advanced age that he's still able to pull off stunts like that. So, Hardys win. New tag team champions. Moving on to the next match. When we go back and we come to the next match, we got the Miz and Maryse versus John Cena and Nikki Bella. I'm actually okay with how this match went down, just for the simple fact that you already knew John Cena and Nikki Bella were going to win, and I already had enough issue with that because I thought Miz and Maryse would have been the better win. But when you knew the match was going to go the way it was going to go, just get it in, get it over with, get it done, and we'll move on. You knew that this match wasn't really about a match. This match was about a wedding proposal from John Cena to Nikki Bella. That's the only reason this match seems to have even went down. Congratulations to them. I actually was thinking about it. If you really reflect on this, if this is not some kind of crazy worked situation where John Cena is proposing, this is her big moment, her big proposal, and all of us smart marks out there who knew it was coming kind of ruined her moment. If you're a young lady and you're waiting your whole life for that magical moment when your man asks you to be his wife and the whole world knows it before you do, that's kind of a little messed up. I'm just saying. But still a cute situation. They're an adorable couple. Let's just hope he can keep this marriage together, unlike his last marriage. Miz and Maryse, they played their roles well. Congrats to Maryse, who still looked like she could move in the ring. I think if she had more in-ring time, she'd actually have done better. But I don't know what the deal is with that. You would think somebody with her talent, her pedigree, the Ouellette pedigree, they'd want to get her in the ring more, unless she's just closed off to that opportunity. But I hope Miz and Maryse are strategically positioned to do something of significantly more value going forward, because I feel like after doing this job here, they deserve it, especially after all the stuff they've done in the last year. So, moving on, our first really big, major match, Triple H versus Seth Rollins. Everybody predicted a lot of things that did not happen in this match. There was no outside interference from Samoa Joe. There was no outside interference from Mick Foley. No return of Finn Balor. They saved that for Monday night. So, instead, what we got was just a knockdown, drag out, all pretty much a street fight. I love Triple H's entrance on that giant motorcycle. You know, Seth Rollins, a cool video effect they did there with him walking out with the torch and lighting his way to the ring or whatever. They always come up with something interesting at WrestleMania. So I actually, when you get into the match itself, tons of brutality, physicality for a guy, Seth Rollins, who I don't care if he's healed or not, I would be taking it easy on his knee just to prevent future injury issues. But he looked great in the ring. This match was back and forth, inside, outside the ring. You had several pedigree attempts. I would love for Seth Rollins to get something other than a pedigree. You know, I didn't love the curb stomp either, but give him something. And of course, you know, you've got the turnbuckle, you know, power bomb thing. I like that, but I am concerned that it causes too many injuries, and that may be a big reason why they've gone away from it. And I'm okay with them going away from it, but at some point, you got to give him a finishing move that's overly believable and that is going to make it so you can make his matches just have to mean more at the end. I'm tired of seeing the pedigree. That's just my opinion. Moving on. The Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton match. Everybody expected Randy Orton to win. I could not be more against that. Randy Orton's been champion enough times. This is Bray Wyatt's first opportunity to run with the championship, and had he been given a proper championship run 6 months or so, I think the championship run Bray had would have meant more. Instead, he held the title for about a month and a half, and some of us who are huge Bray Wyatt fans, we've been waiting a long time for Bray to get the championship. He finally gets it, and they pretty much squandered his entire championship reign. Well, he didn't do very much of anything. He spent a good chunk of time with Luke Harper, who Luke Harper totally got passed over at this pay-per-view. He should have been more prominently featured after everything he's done, proving he's one of the best big men in the business, and instead he got nothing as well. So Bray Wyatt comes out. The match itself was not terrible, but this is another situation where the match seems so rushed. It seemed like, you know, where the finish came felt like the middle of the match. And I think part of the reason that was an issue is if you looked at the clock, this 7-hour show that was supposed to be so long, action-packed, start to finish, you had about 45, 50 minutes at the end of the show, and you had 4 matches to go, and they had to cram everything in. So, you know, the Randy Orton getting the win, you could see it coming from a mile away, but I hated it. I would have much preferred to see Sister Abigail debut, who we've all been waiting for a very long time. I would have preferred to see Eric Rowan get involved, or even Luke Harper rejoin the Wyatt family, or something bizarre. Especially, like, why did they have all those video things playing in the ring? The maggots, the worms, the locusts, or whatever they were. Why? Why do all that if you're not going to make it mean anything? The match had such little meaning, and it's a world championship match. I didn't like the way this was booked. I really had a problem with that. But in the end, Randy Orton wins. He's the new WWE champion. Congrats to him. I mean, obviously, surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. I say first ballot like there even is a ballot in WWE. But he's guaranteed Hall of Famer. Bray Wyatt, he wasn't made to look weak, but he wasn't made to look strong either. He needed to look strong. That would have been the best way to book him. Next match is the big Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar match. In all honesty, I expected them to capitalize on Brock Lesnar's mixed martial arts background and Goldberg's ability to compete using Muay Thai, because he practices Muay Thai for the last 15 years. And you could have really used that to lengthen this match out and make a match that wasn't just a bunch of glorified high spots. Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that we got to see 4 spears, one of them through the outside barricade. I love we got to see the jackhammer. I love the 10, 12, whatever it was, suplexes, taking them to Suplex City. I'm okay with all of that. My issue is, and the F5 to end the match, but the truth is you could have added 5 to 7 minutes to the match if you would have added some grappling, some ground game, ground pound. You know, give them something that has the match have a little more legitimacy in today's wrestling world. It just didn't have that. This was another one that was somewhat rushed, And, I say rushed. I mean, it's the longest match of Goldberg's return, but still, you're at WrestleMania and you're the Universal Championship match. You guys need to get 10 to 12 minutes of solid, real in-ring action, not the same 5 moves over and over and over again. It actually, in a lot of ways, made Brock look like he can't move either. And there are people who've been saying that in his current run, but I don't buy that. Brock Lesnar's an animal. He's a physical specimen. He's so athletic. And they really should have done something better in this particular situation. Brock Lesnar picks up the win, new Universal Champion. We all saw that coming. SmackDown Women's Championship 6-pack match. All the promises of potential surprises. No Eve Torres, no Victoria, no Maria Kanellis, no Lita, no nobody special. This could have been so much better. And they didn't have to be in the match. If you wanted to leave it just 6 women, that's fine. But you could have surrounded the ring with these legendary women, given them a paycheck. I know WWE hates doing that. Give them a paycheck and made the match special. Yeah, they should have turned the match at the last minute into a 6-woman, 6-pack challenge lumberjack match and had all these legendary women around the outside. Even Beth Phoenix, the new Hall of Famer, have her out there. Just give her a moment. After having the Hall of Fame speech that she had, that was probably the highlight of the Hall of Fame. In the end, you get to see what everybody expected. Naomi comes out getting her championship back so they can continue whatever they had planned for her. The only other person who even had a chance, according to the odds makers, which would have made a lot of sense, was Carmella. You could see a situation where James Ellsworth gets involved and costs everybody the championship, and Carmella becomes champion, but I don't think she's ready for it yet. I would love to say she is, but I don't think she's ready for it yet. So I expect her to get it at some point this year, just not yet. Moving on, the main event, the last match, the emotional match, Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker. Everybody was afraid that The Undertaker can't move anymore. He's not going to perform well in this match. The Undertaker delivered. The Undertaker showed up and he put on a classic Undertaker WrestleMania match. He did everything and anything and everything he needed to do to really solidify his last match as being a premium quality WrestleMania match. It is very sad that after I hated the way they ended the match. This bouncing off the ropes 4 times and spearing the guy. This guy who has survived Batista, he's survived Randy Orton and Edge and CM Punk, and you name it. He's kicked out of every finisher there is to kick out of. Hulk Hogan's leg drop even. And you have him fall to a guy bouncing off the ropes 4 times and hitting a spear. I know he hit a bunch of other spears. I know he used a chair a whole bunch of times. I know all that. I would have liked to have seen it booked just a little bit differently. Certainly not a Superman punch either. And if you really wanted to cement Reigns and it seemed like they turned him as a bad guy on Monday night. If you really wanted to do that, you know how you should have ended this match? Do everything you did already, except have him pick him up and put him into a tombstone pile driver and pin The Undertaker and end his career with his own move. You want to talk about nuclear heat? And he had a lot of that on Monday night, but you do that, you would have had some insane nuclear heat. You'd have had to hide him, getting him out of the building, if you would have had him end The Undertaker's career with his own move. At the end of the night, you get to see The Undertaker, for those who stayed online long enough, The Undertaker going into the ring and doing the customary thing, taking off the gloves, the hat, and the coat, laying him in the center of the ring, and ending his legendary career. Congratulations to The Undertaker. Thank you, Undertaker, for one last amazing match. And with that being said, that is the end of this episode. I am all out of time, people. I hope you enjoyed it. This is one of those crazy situations, broadcasting through a cell phone. Not something I typically would like to do. But in the situation that I'm in with the computer not cooperating, I thought it was the best way to get you guys my review before it gets so stale you guys don't even want to hear about it anymore. So check back with me in episode 61. I'll hopefully have everything back up the way we normally do, and we'll see how things go from there. And we'll keep our eyes on SmackDown, and we'll give you some Raw review. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care. Have a great one.